Isn't it okay to get lost in Las Vegas?
Oh,
I
yeah.
was thinking about this the other day. You know, my son, Jesse, was out in Las Vegas when we had that 70th birthday celebration, but actually was not in attendance at the big, gathering when everybody
That's funny.
got together for the birthday dinner. Why? Because he was playing poker at a nearby casino. And I was thinking, I really respect that. I do. Some people that might have caused some kind of very, just almost abrasive kind of rift in the family. But, with me, and everybody accepted it. Oh, yeah, he's in a poker tournament. No problem, man. Let's hope he wins, which is great.
Wake up with Defo, joined by Lubie. Welcome to the Defo Show.
It's kind of interesting in a roundabout way how I came up with that theory that it's okay to get lost in Las Vegas, which we know it is. And good morning, everybody. Great to have you with us on the Defo Show here on this Tuesday. Jeff DeForest and one Mike Lubitz. We got off to a little bit of a late start here. Was that steak coming back on you from last night at Texas Roadhouse? Early in the morning, Lubie. I know, we're in the middle of a couple of sessions here, and you're asking me who's calling me at 7 in the morning as I picked up a telephone call right at 7 o'clock. And it was a good friend of mine who's involved in this Greenlight Ventures thing. And he said, whatever I told you yesterday, don't bother. No, things are moving along. It's great, man. Stock's trading at like 78 cents, Louis.
Oh, wow.
We just have to get our hands on a couple of 100,000 shares and cash them in.
Exactly.
We won't have to wake up so early in the morning. That'll be great. Anyway, good to have you guys with us. Always great. Always appreciate the comments on the chat line. So keep those coming. A lot of interesting things to happen on the program today. Dave Hyde, of course, distinguished columnist for the South Florida Sun Sentinel, sports columnist who is probably. I don't know. I mean, he's not the longest tenured. I guess Greg Cody from the Miami Herald still holds that distinction.
Yes.
And still is writing for the Miami Herald. But Hyde, has written many books, including Swagger with Jimmy Johnson and the 72 Dolphins Perfect Team, Perfect Season. Had a book on that, many others. So a very distinguished guy. He's going to join us about 7:35 this morning. And then the man of the hour, Coach Larranaga, which, it's very gracious of him to accommodate us for all of our interviews. Especially, and I don't know if I asked him, did I ever talk to him about Ernie No D Gregorio?
Yes.
We played with, yeah? Okay.
Yes.
So that's probably not a good one to bring up
Common
again.
ones you've asked him about. You sort of have to dig deep. It's been a while since you've dug deep.
Yeah, I'm going to have to really think, because we asked him about the Whopper. These were popular players. Ernie No D Gregorio was often discussed during recreational basketball games that I was involved in because he was a sensational passer. And he teamed with Larranaga when he was a sophomore. Freshmen were not eligible then, Lubie. So his first year of varsity basketball, Ernie D, with Providence, was Larranaga's senior year. That would have been an interesting backcourt combination, huh? I mean, Ernie D. Gregorio probably, was stretching it. I don't know if they even listed him as 6 feet, but he was probably more like, 5'10", Ernie D. Gregorio. So, thus the no D, but marvelous passer and, had something that every coach would love to see, and that was like a 95% free throw shooting percentage. How great is that when it comes time to, make it through the clutch moments of the NCAA tournament? Free throw shooting. Ask Jimmy Boeheim about that. He might still be coaching. If no, not this year, but in the past, it was incredible that he could never find a single guy. Where's Bill Sharman when you need him? Get Calvin Murphy out there to teach these guys how to shoot free throws.
Yes. Oh, my
Somebody. But that was, an Achilles heel, an enigma for Syracuse University forever. Free throw shooting percentage in the late going. Maybe that's something that we need to track if we're going to get into sabermetrics analytics on the NCAA tournament, which apparently, does anybody know anything about this tournament that's taking place? It's coming up tonight. We have some games, play-in games tonight, Louie.
We do.
I don't know how much interest that you have in these games tonight. Texas A&M. And they are taking on, Southeast Missouri? Is that it? Southeast Missouri State. Is that correct in the South? And then you have in the Midwest, you have Mississippi State and Pitt. Texas A&M, that's Texas A&M Community College, Corpus Christi.
Yes.
I couldn't figure out what that designation was, the
college.
double C's.
It's not community college.
And these two teams are going to be sacrificial lambs. I mean, just almost like you were having a human sacrifice, because they will be the 16th seed, whoever survives that game, and go in there and get crushed by one of the number one seeds. And in the Midwest, though, these teams, whoever wins this game, will become the 11th seed in their bracket in the Midwest, which is that not the Canes bracket also? Yes.
Yes.
So you would have Pitt, who was in the ACC and was very competitive there, down to the wire there, the last game of the season to decide the regular season championship, and a nail biter against the University of Miami. So a very viable team that they would become the 11th seed, while the Canes ride the tide of being a 5th seed, or Mississippi State going tonight. Any insight into those two games, Mike Lubie Lubitz? Do you care to venture to speculate on a winner?
I mean,
No,
not at all. I mean, the play-ins are friggin' rough. We've had in the past some of the play-in teams make it to the friggin' Final Four, but for the most part, the play-in games are usually useless.
yeah.
I don't really pay much attention. I don't feel bad about it.
Anybody making their way? I used to, run into a lot of people that said, "Hey, you're going out to Vegas for the opening round of the tournament." Everybody says that is sensational.
Oh, yeah.
I was in Atlantic City a couple of years ago for the opening games of the NCAA tournament. The first couple of days, I guess, I was there for the first day of the tournament. It wasn't quite as spectacular as you would imagine the scene. A very toned down version of what you would find in Las Vegas. Which, just getting back to it, I mean, I touched on this story. The reason I brought it up about getting lost in Las Vegas is because I use that as kind of an excuse for what would seem to be some very indifferent and uncaring behavior towards a woman that I was in Las Vegas with. All right. Now, is this justifiable or not? Should she not have had a better level of understanding of what was going on here, as opposed to the position she took, which is put me on a plane right now? I'm going back home. Now, I have to preface this by saying that we were already on very, very thin ice and shaky status before the trip even took place. In fact, she had her suitcase and was giving me some grief before we even left. And she has her suitcase by the door there. And I just looked at her and I said, listen, why don't we just skip it? I'll just go. It's a business trip for me, essentially. I happen to have, free accommodation and airfare for another person that they gave me. And I was more than willing to take this woman, but, just wasn't really working out that well. But then, is this not typical, Lubie? After the woman tells you she never wants to see your lecherous, lying face again, and you say, okay, well, let's blow off the trip. She goes, no, I'm going.
Well, of course. She has to ruin your trip, which is a douchey move.
So, okay, great. So, for a day or so, we're getting along okay. And then she's waiting for me at a bar, and I happen to stop by, and this is, I believe, at the Mandalay Bay, which is kind of wide open in this area, and it's back where they have the House of Blues. I don't know. Are you familiar with the configuration there, Libby? The Mandalay Bay? Man, you really haven't.
I know Mandalay Bay looks like. I'm saying,
Yeah.
Vegas, I can't envision everything.
Yeah, it's tough, but it just very conveniently for me, there happened to be a roulette table that was open on the way to where I'm meeting this young woman. At the designated time, that we agreed that we were going to meet after, I had gotten ready for whatever it was that we were going to plan on doing that night, and she was still getting ready, and she was going to meet me at the bar. So anyway, I get to the roulette table, and I'm on fire, Lubie. I mean, my numbers are coming in 7 red, 13 black, 17 and 20 right there in the middle. I mean, 36 red in honor of the racehorse by the same name. They're all kind of in the same section of the board there. And that board, I don't know if there was a magnet underneath there or something. But you know how it is in roulette. I mean, they are shoveling chips at you in stacks that you think, my God, this is the day of my life.
Yeah.
Now, can you walk away from that
No.
when you're on fire? I mean, it should be required because you're hearing the demons in your head saying, she's still sitting there by herself at the bar. You also lose track of time when you're winning. Time is also something that is suspended if you're winning because, and it's not going to last forever. So, you're thinking, okay, let me ride this out. And the first time I miss, I'll cash in my chicks. Hey, color me out. And whoosh, straight to the bar and meet this, young lady who, unfortunately, didn't quite understand that, it's okay to get lost in Las Vegas. So she said, well, where were you? And I've got like a stack of hundreds. I mean, just like an accordion. I try to duke her a couple of hundred. Well, as soon as she refused the money, I knew that there was no way of getting out of this, right?
Yeah, you're in trouble.
So she tells me, why don't I use that money to buy her a plane ticket back on Delta Airlines to go back that night? We were leaving like a day later anyway. It
Oh
was
my
only going to be one more day. And, so at that time, one-way tickets were, for some reason, there was no Spirit Airline $9 flight, which I gladly would have put her on.
yeah.
And I would have sent a limo, with her in it to the airport just to make sure she got out of town. But because she was giving me a headache with this business, right? I'm
Yeah.
finally winning, and I'm fighting with this woman over nothing. The fact that I was like 15 minutes later than I said I was going to be
Oh
to
my
meet her
God.
at the bar.
That's not
Right?
even.
Of course, I wasn't answering my phone or any of that stuff. But what am I going to do? Pick up a cell phone in the middle of this thing, and they plunk that little, whatever that thing is called. What do they do? The thing that they put on top of the chips. And when you hit, whatever number it is, they mark it. And they put the marker right on top of like a towering inferno of my chips. It was like the leaning tower of pizza. Unbelievable. Or Mike Piazza. Anyway, we get into a big round. She wants me to put her on a plane. It turns out it's like $1,000 for a one-way flight back. I'm like,
Sorry.
hey, you know what? For
No,
$1,000, I'll get another room tonight. That would be better. Okay. So and that was that turned out to be one of the classic blown Thanksgiving dinners because it was right before the Thanksgiving holiday, and then after this just atrocious, outrageous fight that we have over the fact that I'm an indifferent, uncaring, complete asshole, which she might have had a point.
True. Yeah.
But this was over 15 minutes of time, Lubie, when it was the most lucrative 15 minutes of my life.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like you're in Vegas. I don't know. Like,
Can you not get lost in Vegas? So I said to her, I mean, listen, people get lost in Las Vegas. Don't you understand this?
while women take forever to get ready, you're supposed to just sit. Like you're in Vegas. Like what?
Yeah.
Even Shirley, and we haven't done this trip yet together, but sure. I don't do a lot,
But you're not the type to get lost. You would be hanging around with
No, but
Shirley,
I'm
going shopping and stuff like that. I mean,
gambling, but like let's say she's doing her thing where it takes 2 hours to get ready. It takes me 20 minutes. Like I'm
Right.
not gonna just sit in the room. We're in Vegas. I'll go down to the floor. Like I'll go
Sure.
walk the strip, and if something catches my eye, even I would gamble a little. And if I start to get hot, my wife's not gonna like lose it. Like,
Yeah, but you're married. It's different. Yeah. This thing was already on the rocks. I mean,
yeah.
before we even went. I
Well,
mean,
it's not
so
easy. Me being married, it's worse most of the time. Shirley holds me to a different standard. But if you're in, I thought you were going to say you were 4 hours late. Like that's the default.
no, I mean, it might have been more than 15 minutes. I might be exaggerating a little bit on the short side to make myself look like less of a dick.
Like if you come strolling in 5 hours later and don't even.
No, it wasn't like a day later or anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, but like 20 minutes, a half an hour. Okay, well, you were getting ready. What the hell do you care? Like,
I don't know. I don't know. I thought her beef was unjustified. I really did. It was kind of like Tom Thibodeau screaming at an official, and you're saying, "Just shut up, Tom." All right, nothing happened here. You look like you're in agony the whole time. Why don't you change your diet? Do something so you don't experience this discomfort the entire time that the Knicks are playing, whether they're winning or losing. You wouldn't know with this guy because he has a sour puss on his face the entire time. Does he not?
Yep.
Other coaches are more stoic. I mean, they almost seem to be like, they could come off the bench and play. And then there's Thibodeau there, hunched over and looking like, he's one step away from being homeless, but nonetheless is making a lot of money with the Knicks. And the Knicks fans are pacified. See, we're not happy here in like sixth place or seventh.
no.
Whereas the Knicks fans are thrilled that they're like sitting there in fifth. Whoa, what a season we're
Well,
having.
they're in 6 now. The Nets, it's Sean Marks should just tell his owner to go fuck himself because he's much better dealing with teams like this than with what's funny is they were playing really well with those stars, but you knew it was going to fall apart and they'd lose in the first round. The way they're playing right now with this group of guys that people didn't think would be anything is pretty impressive. Like the fact that the Nets have hung on the 5-6 seed when I thought they would totally collapse. Look, they beat the Nuggets the other day.
They have a completely different team. That's the funny part. like a new team.
And they're playing just as good. Like they're hanging on the 5-6, and the way the Celtics are struggling, but you're not wrong. Like the Knicks fans were like, "Yeah, we're here," and I'm like,
They're euphoric about this team.
You're not
They
even
love
going
it.
first round.
Yeah.
Like that. Oh well, maybe we'll win a first round. Like that's a weird way of thinking. Like the Heat fans are like, "Oh fuck, a first round."
Yeah.
That's a joke.
You would think Ewing and Willis Reed were coming back in their prime. to play together. Anyway, Mike, a long story even longer about this Vegas thing and getting lost in Las Vegas. So the bottom line was, we were never going to see each other again, except that she had already invited people over to my house for the Thanksgiving dinner, and that's how that Thanksgiving turkey ended up in the canal. Because it got ugly. I mean, there was only so much pretending you could do that everything was okay, and you could just cut the tension with a knife, which isn't my bag. I love Thanksgiving; it's my favorite holiday there. So I finally, I don't know, I must have said something, and the next thing you know, here comes this turkey flying towards my head. It was overcooked anyway. It was the one that she made. Mine came out fine, and then here's this turkey like a bowling ball heading straight for my head, and ends up in the canal. And I'm looking at her going, well, I don't know that anybody was going to eat that dreck anyway, but there goes, half the meal. I don't know if she asked me if I wanted to get on one of the wave runners and go and retrieve it. It was a fitting tribute to the bowling ball that also ended up in a canal that cost me $6,000 in my divorce. Because my lawyer suggested that we draw a line in the sand. It's like, okay, that's fine for you, but at $6,000 a pop, I don't think I want any more bowling balls. All right. If she wants a bowling ball, she can have the bag. She can have the shoes. Let her have whatever it is that she wants. All right, let's get into some stuff here because we have Dave Hyde coming up and then Jim Larranaga. And the tournament begins tonight. I don't know. I have no strong opinion on either of the games, except I do believe that whoever wins that Texas A&M Community College Southeast Missouri State game will get creamed by whatever number one seed they play.
Yeah.
I did some analysis, and I tried to find, mention this on Defo on 5, which is now airing on 5 Reasons Sports Network. And that is, you start, how do you handicap the tournament? From the top down or from the bottom up? I go from the bottom up. Like I look at the 16th seeded teams and think, can any of them beat a number one? And so you're thinking, I don't know. This year it really looks ugly, doesn't it?
I'm usually 12, 13. I know the 15s once in a while will make a move, and the 16 made that one move. But it's rare. Even the 14s.
But don't you think if you can catch that? See, it's a shame they ought to reverse the point total because it should be worth more points in the first round to come up with a winner. No.
Oh, you're talking about that the upsets. Yeah,
usually, in the pools. Yeah, I mean, if you can predict those upsets, they should be worth far more than the 1 point that you get.
Oh yeah.
If you had St. Peter's going to the Final Four, I mean, obviously, I would imagine that had a significant impact on your chances of winning the pool outright. But it's a lot harder to predict, these low-level, teams coming up with the upset. And where do you start? I try to look at the 15s versus the 2s, Lubie.
Yeah.
I see nothing there. I really don't. Texas versus Colgate, right? Everybody thinks that Colgate is a toothpaste, not necessarily a college basketball power. No. Can't see that happening. Marquette writing a nice story there with your man, Shaka Smart.
Yep.
And they go against Vermont, which we forgot to ask Tony about last night at dinner. Texas Roadhouse. Fine time, by the way. Wow, it was great, huh? Tony, had a couple of cocktails. He was loose as a goose last night. He was great.
Tony can handle his liquor. I'll tell you that. Like, he was drinking.
There was no change in his demeanor.
Bourbon neat, and he was drinking it like you see, like old school.
Straight up, man, old school. Like
that. Like,
hey, barkeeper, they slide the bottle down the end of the bar there, and you throw him like a silver dollar.
He's getting. Yeah. He mocked me because I don't drink like even a margarita, which is like juice. I don't pound it. Like I've trained myself to, because I know I'm driving and I'm an adult, that I take my time with it. And he was on like a second double, and he was like, this one thing, and I'm like, what? He's like, we're on our second and third drink, and you're on your first. I'm like, hey, Tony. Sorry, sir.
I blew down the first margarita pretty easily there, and then Ed Garcia of Texas Roadhouse says, hey, you ought to throw a little spike in there. So we had the the little what would that be, test tube of
shooter,
Padron, which was great. No, that was nice. That was a good time, man. By the way, great value, huh? I know Mike Mayo had his issue or something with the Texas Roadhouse.
Mayo he went on like a weekend
Saturday night without a rereservation. Yeah.
Well, you don't have reservations, but just think and he didn't use the app. Just think last night was a Monday. Okay, it was a Monday, and when
it was busy. Yeah,
they were pretty full. That's a Monday. Like, just
why not? I mean, the price is right.
So no, but that's what I'm saying. Like, it's funny. Mayo, all the stuff he gives his followers or I don't know, subscribers of the Let's See.
About fetching, yeah.
was what it was his problem. He's like, it wasn't perfect. I'm like, what was wrong? I'm like, the food. He's like, no, the food was good. I'm like, then, well, I'm like, okay, you went on a Saturday to a family place at like 7. That's like friggin' prime. That's like going to space
Yeah.
at like 12 or 1 on a
Lining up at Chick-fil-A at noon. Yeah, exactly.
like, what did you expect there, superstar?
Yeah, and I couldn't figure out what all these cars were doing as I was leaving. And
Oh,
Texas Roadhouse experience was great, and they're all lined up. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, I must be, in the wrong place to make an exit here. There's like 100 cars lined up, and it was a Chick-fil-A at 9:30 at night. Yeah. Wow, it never stops, man. What development out west there in South Florida, though? Unbelievable. I lived in the Miramar area when my son was about 1 or 2 years old. I guess we lived there for several years till he was about 8, and there was nothing past University Drive. Literally, man, like guys were taking buckboards out into the wilderness, and there was nothing out there. And it's amazing. This was like a zillion miles west of that, and a thriving area there with all kinds of families coming in there. It was great though. Thanks to Ed Garcia, who you see on the show. He is a great guy, and well-run restaurant chain, 600 stores, and they all just crank at about the same level. $30 was $29.99 for this bone-in ribeye steak. It was fantastic.
That was great.
Yeah, absolutely great. And it comes with a couple of sides and a salad. Can you imagine? For $29.99.
It comes with a couple of sides, which you can make one the salad.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, but I mean, it was phenomenal. I mean,
Yeah,
for the money, you're thinking, no wonder this place is packed. This would be $75 a copy anywhere else, even if it was at a discount place. All right, just finishing up this thought here. We're going to have Dave Hyde joining us in a few minutes on the 15s versus 2. UCLA, UNC, Asheville. What do you think? No chance, right?
Yeah,
Asheville?
Nope.
0. Okay. Vermont, Marquette. Marquette's kind of a good story right now with Shaka Smart now with another kind of unsung team going into the NCAA tournament after he had done such a marvelous job with VCU, right? Remember, Virginia Commonwealth? Wasn't that his team? VCU? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, let me.
He took the VCU to the Final Four, remember? Yeah. And then he went to Texas and was underwhelming. And I guess he's a Wisconsin guy, so he chose to go home to Marquette, even though Texas wasn't firing him just yet. It was sort of an amicable parting of ways.
Okay, yeah, sayonara. And now he's doing a good job at Marquette in Milwaukee there in Wisconsin. Isn't that where they're located? Yeah. Texas, versus Colgate, that's a monster mismatch. And so the only game would be in Arizona. Looks like it's going to be overwhelming. I can't see Princeton with some kind of – Are they still playing that, like, slow-down thing that they had with Pete Carroll?
They may, but Carell's not there.
Yeah.
God rest his soul. So
isn't that their only chance? A bunch of really bright 6'5" white guys. I mean, how are they going to compete?
They're not.
Unless they play smart basketball, which unfortunately smart doesn't work out as well as just chucking up threes, does it?
Pretty much.
Yeah. Right. Especially from the college distance. Don't they need to move that back? Or do you think the college game is fine with this, like, nothing of a three-point shot?
Oh, no, I'd rather them move it back. But,
yeah.
I mean, the 3 balls is weird in both leagues. I'd rather, like, Andy offers up a solution all the time, and I don't fight him. I'd rather the
What is that?
Like, he wants it to be worth 2.5. I don't know if they're going to have a hook as a point. But I'd rather them either move it. I'd rather them do something with it, move it back both in the NBA and college, make it worth more. Like, of course, I'd rather shoot a 3 than a 2 if it's worth 50% more.
Yeah.
And it's not that much farther.
No,
like,
it's not much of a, the NBA 3 can be a little bit of a heave. Not in the corners, because obviously it's a little bit shorter distance than, say, top of the key. But it's a little more of a heave. It's just that distance, that takes you out of the realm of thinking, I got this every time. Where you're extremely confident in the shot. It's just enough added distance to make you think, I got to put a little more on this. And, that little more is the adjustment that causes you to miss a lot of shots. But, from the high school and the college 3-point range, that was a nothing shot for most outside shooters. Nothing. I'm surprised, it's, got, the same value, because it doesn't seem like, I don't know, has it helped the game? The college game, it doesn't seem so prohibitive, does it? Are they over-reliant on 3-point shots, in your opinion, like the NBA is?
No, they're not, but... Look, they follow the NBA. Eventually, they're going to get there. They've just been slow on the uptake, but eventually they're going to rely on the 3 and make the game boring as hell like the NBA's become.
Yeah, all right. Well, we'll wait for that day. In the meantime, it should be very exciting, right? Now, all of a sudden, everybody's a big basketball fan. And we know nothing about most of the teams, including Drake. So we'll find out more about that from Jim Larranaga when he joins us later on the program. Dave Hyde's coming up in just a few minutes. And UConn Iona is the game that I'm zeroing in on because we want to see what happens with Rick Pitino, our good friend. And everybody has him the minute. I mean, that game, as soon as it's final, he will be wearing a Lou Carnesecca sweater, will he not?
That'd be funny.
As the new head coach of St. John's. What if that doesn't happen? What happens to Pitino? Does he go back to Iona? I don't know about that.
He's going to get some gig this offseason.
He's made it pretty clear that he loved it there, that he's thankful that they got him back. He was coaching in Greece. He was having a good time. He was working for some zillionaire shipbuilder.
Yes, a magnet. Yep.
You don't think that the guy loved Pitino? He won a championship there in Greece. He could have done anything. I mean, they wanted him to coach the Greek national team. Did he? I mean, he might have actually done that. Did he? Rick Pitino? So he gets a job at Iona, and we got the story. He had a couple of different opportunities, but he had a close relationship with the people there. And, it seemed like he was getting back into it just for the, essence of the love of the game. Wasn't going to be a big money deal, but this wasn't, like Lane Kiffin going to FAU and then getting any number of bigger jobs. But at this point, you would have to think the world is crying out for Pitino to be at a larger platform. For some reason, the professor is not a Patino fan. Well, and that is weird because he's a member of the contingency here.
Ken doesn't just write off the ills. Like if someone gets popped for something and it makes him sort of douchey.
Yeah.
Ken's not Mr. Moral. Kevin doesn't care if you cheat on your wife, but the fact
but cheating in college basketball, I mean, not like it's uncommon.
It's weird.
I would imagine if you probed every program, just like in football, you would find at some point. I mean, look, Iona 43 years ago was stripped of its lone NCAA tournament victory because of some kind of illegal activity they were involved in.
Well, look, from
Iona, for God's sake.
He's not naive. It's just the idea that Rick Pitino playing the woman what woman card when he had issues in the past and when he hired the people that did the things that were questionable at Louisville.
Does the business in the Italian restaurant make Pitino a more endearing figure? Or do you think, hey, that's a classist move, Rick? What do you think? I thought it was great.
As a man...
he was married at the time and, kind of, giving the image that he was a family guy and everything. I mean, well, he was banging some crazy woman, like a Meshuggah and nut woman, on the table of an Italian restaurant where the guy, I mean, how classic is that, though? That the guy, I mean, this is right out of Goodfellas.
Yes, it's right out of...
Or A Bronx Tale, man. I mean, you could see Chaz Palminteri, tossing the keys.
Here, kid.
Yeah. Knock yourself out.
Way out.
Make sure you put the sauce back in the fridge, when you're done. I think it distinguishes the man. I mean, that's a classic.
Yeah. Now, the moral and ethical police would beg to differ.
But I mean, it's amazing how, like, one thing, it's kind of like the whole, Buckner, Jackie Smith thing, or Ralph Branco we were talking about the other day, where you're known for some infamous moment of failure. People don't really talk about that. The guy's taken 5 teams to Final Four or something like that.
Yes.
And maybe more. I think he might have even more, than that. And, has won a couple of championships.
Yeah, 3. Providence, Kentucky, Louisville. Who else did he take? He didn't coach anyone.
No, I'm talking about how many times has he been to the Final Four?
Oh, God, no, a ton. Oh, my God.
Yeah.
For so many times.
It's more than 5, yeah.
As a coach, and that's Ken's contention. This is the problem with the Patriots is because you win, it doesn't mean you're not a douche.
Okay.
He hates when people forget that guys have done ill. We all understand coaches do.
He handles it well, though. I mean, he wears it well. Whatever sins he's been guilty of.
He's been good to us. So I
have nothing but genuine affection for the guy in terms of the way he treats people. He's great.
But I do understand the people like Tony Segreto that will say, he's smarmy. Yeah, I mean, they all are. That's the thing. Like Coach L, Larranaga seems like the only dude that's not a little smarmy. And I don't know how he's survived. Maybe, look, he coached.
Not according to Jimmy B.
There you go. And even Larranaga has his detractors. So,
yeah.
And he seems as clean as a freaking whistle.
I mean, could you be any more honorable in terms of the way you present yourself than Jim Larranaga, who will join us later on in the program here. So don't ask him about Ernie D. I've already done that.
You can, and he'll just make fun of you.
I don't want him, to feel like we run out of material here on the program. Maybe we'll stick to the tournament. Yeah.
Yes, the tournament would be good, and then throw in someone else who had tournament success. Old school. I don't know old school. That's on you. I'll leave that on you.
Well, do I mention that I thought that one series of non-calls going the way of the University of Miami was just an atrocity, and had a big impact on the game. And Jim took it like a man. I mean, he was not screaming or apoplectic on the sideline there. He didn't throw his jacket off or anything, or drop his pants or do something that would try to diminish the credibility of the referees. Wang looks like he forced a jump ball. They call him for a foul instead. And then I don't know why this play wasn't reviewable. I mean, there was a play in that same sequence, Lubie, which I think the game was teetering between like 2 and 4 points at that stage. And it was in the second half. And the Hurricanes looked like they deserved to get possession of the basketball, and they awarded it without looking at a review. The replay seemed to appear to show, that the ball was off of Duke. But naturally, Jay Billis made the call, and they gave the ball back to Duke, and they scored.
Jay Billis made the call.
That's off them.
Like, thanks, Jay.
Oh, okay, Jay. Thanks. Right. Man. Glad you saw that because we really didn't have a great view of that.
The refs are listening to Jay like it's the PGA.
Why is it particularly disgusting to have lost to Duke? All right, we're coming back with more. Dave Hyde's going to join us. We'll get into a lot of this stuff with Dave Hyde. There were some moves around the NFL yesterday that were also significant. Jimmy Garoppolo going to the Raiders in Las Vegas, reunited with Josh McDaniels, who, he did all right with Garoppolo, right? And who was Jacoby Brissett? I mean, how is it that he was able to work such miracles with these backup quarterbacks at the time for the Patriots, and he couldn't get Derek Carr to play? It's interesting. I don't know. Is Garoppolo that big of an upgrade over Derek Carr?
No, he's a down.
Just a cheaper option.
Yes, yeah. It's a little less money, and it's a guy that is not going to start long term. Like you can go to the quarterback, and that quarterback will know in a year or two he'll be the starter. Derek Carr just got 4 years at like $200 million. Like he's going to be the starter.
And apparently, the Dolphins brass also is not opposed to watching some game film with the coaches. And in spite of the fact that the fans believe that Skylar Thompson is the second coming of Johnny Unitas, that they went and signed a backup quarterback for $16 million for 2 years. Mike White, who at one point last year was being depicted as the savior of the New York Jets.
Oh, Jets fans loved him.
He played, I think, a couple of decent games. He had one really good game and then an okay game, and then he went right into the shitter. It was unbelievable.
Yes, he did.
Never to surface again. All right, we're coming back with more. Dave Hyde going to join us. Jim Larranaga later on. Here on the Defo Show, Jeff DeForest, Mike Lubie. It's Hialeah Park, a great place to go. You see it pictured in the background, but it should be in the foreground of your thoughts about places to go to be entertained, and wildly so. Whether you're talking about the DJs out there, that was a great scene on that Friday night because it was totally separate and apart from the boxing that was going on in a different part of the facility there. And it was just brilliant the way they orchestrated everything. And the people were having a blast, man, all crowded around the bar there. I would imagine, get into a little bit of a Latin vibe there. And there were some hotties out there too, Lubie. I mean, it was a tremendous scene. In the casino, the place was hopping. They're winning jackpots all over the place. Steve Calabro actually broke down for Andy and me the takeout that they have, which is how casinos make their money on slot machines. And, here in Florida, you're getting hammered, people. Hammered. I mean, absolutely annihilated by most casinos. And then here at Hialeah Park, they're paying out like they are in Las Vegas and Atlantic City, which, much more generous payouts there because they have such high volume. They don't have to, gouge your eyeballs out at the machines there where you sit there and you go, can I just get 2 cherries or something, anything? Let me just have one winning, play or roll in the entire session. Unbelievable. It's nothing worse than just a brick of a casino. So Hialeah Park is a great place to go for that. Poker, champion simulcasting room, special events, catering, HialeahPark.com. Get yourself a player's card when you come through the door. Rewards program is sensational at beautiful Hialeah Park. All right, we're coming back with Dave Hyde and Jim Larranaga later on in the program as he prepares his Hurricane basketball team to go against Drake in the first round of the NCAA tournament. One of those danger zones, Lubie. A 5 versus 12. All right, back in a moment. Now that. Tony says the big man's coming back, though.
That's what he says.
Does
See?
anybody know how to correctly pronounce this guy's name? Omir? Is that it?
Okay, I have to look it up, and yeah, because I have no idea.
Omir. Omier. That's the guy that got hurt, right? And he's a tough rebounder.
Okay, then yeah,
Omir?
we'll go with Amir. Sure.
Yeah, I might want to check that out. Hey, Jim, what about Omir? Is he going to play? Yeah, of course he is. He's fine. What the hell are you talking about, Defo?
No, that's not true.
Can you tell us what you remember about Ernie DiGregorio? Well, you know what? You asked me about that 100 times already, Defo.
I think you've asked him twice, actually, now that I think about it.
We asked you about the Whopper, man. Billy Paul Smith. He was great. Back in a moment. Now that. The Whopper. It's 7:39. Ponies in Style at Champions, the outstanding simulcasting room at beautiful Hialeah Park. Yes, the grand old lady of thoroughbred racing has never been more vibrant, and you can wager on the races from the top tracks around the country while enjoying a cocktail at the Brass Rail Bar or any of the fine food served throughout the facility. If poker is your game, you're covered in style, and you can play all your favorite Vegas-style games, including blackjack, craps, and roulette, in Hialeah Park's sizzling hot casino. Get a player's card when you walk through the door for all kinds of generous amenities, including our favorite, free play, when you come out to the ultimate casino and entertainment destination, Hialeah Park.
Hey folks, Tony Segreto here. You know, since day one, Catholic Health Services has been part of Old School. And since we've started letting people know about them, it's changed their lives. You see, Catholic Health Services, while being recognized as one of the top places for stroke rehab in the country, it's also about a group of people who not just excel in what they do, from the doctors to the nurses to the therapist, on and on and on. It's how they do what they do every single day that separates them from the pack. They do it with a passion, unmatched, and the inclusion of family in every step of the process. Trust me when I tell you this. If you want the best, unmatched rehab with a special group of skilled, caring people, there is truly only one place, and that one place is Catholic Health Services.
These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in the Plantation location, because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. First of all, they're not only open for delivery and pickup. All you have to do is go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both pickup and free delivery. Their hours have changed a little bit. Monday through Thursday from 3:30 to 10, and Friday, Saturday, and Sunday from 11:30 to 10. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers, Raw Bar, and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home.
Florida, which is in the state of Florida, has been in the Stone Age forever. I mean, we're still operating by blue laws. I don't even know if you can buy a beer before 12 o'clock on a Sunday. I'm not sure what religious cult is responsible for the legislation that takes place, but essentially Florida is structured this way. We're here in South Florida, which is very hip and up with modern times. And once you get, would you say, north of Palm Beach, Mike Lubitz, West Palm Beach, Florida, for those unfamiliar with the geography of the state, if you get like 30 miles out of town here, forget about it. It's Hillbilly City. You're hearing banjo music and somebody's telling you to squat down like a pig when you pull up to the Waffle House. It's just the way it is.
The modern day odd couple, Defo and Lubie, are on now. It is, of course, the Defo Show.
That's pretty much true. I mean, and that remains the case. You could have made that statement 50 years ago. You can make it today. That north of Palm Beach, it's a hillbilly jungle, my friends. You hear these wild birds and see a lot of people that are drinking moonshine there and not necessarily behaving in any fashion that you're accustomed to seeing as representing reasonable human behavior. All right, we're waiting to hear from Dave Hyde, so hopefully we'll be able to bring Dave to you here in just a few minutes. And always great getting his sentiments and thoughts on what's going on, and a lot of stuff has been happening. And Dave may be able to help us answer the question: how many blockbuster moves can you make as a team and still be mediocre? Which, is a question that we're looking at this whole Miami Dolphins situation. They've been making blockbuster move after blockbuster move. Will they still be mediocre? They brought their defensive side there, Vic Fangio, the old man who, is a classic NFL, I mean, disciplinarian type of defensive coach there. Yeah, we're going to play cover two, and we're going to play it until they figure out how to get it by us and, score some points. Okay, great. I don't know. I mean, when they go into the lingo of what they're doing, Fangio seems to be very happy that he got this job, though, doesn't he? I mean, like maybe he's just coasting to the wire here, thinking. Are the Dolphins, like to other coaches and executives, like a laughable organization, do you think? Where, everybody thinks, wow, if you can get in with those guys, what idiots, man. They'll tolerate anything, any level of ineptitude. Look, we had Mike Tannenbaum here for a long time. I mean, he had fooled several franchises. You talk about a farce. And you watch ESPN, it's unfathomable, isn't it? ESPN, what the hell are you trying to say about your credibility when you have a guy literally that buried two franchises so completely, and then on top of that committed any number of absolutely atrocious mistakes in terms of signing quarterbacks and bringing coaches to the sideline, and is being asked then about, well, what should Denver do if they're going to manage the salary cap properly, Mike? And you're thinking, well, why didn't you explain what the hell happened when you signed Mark Sanchez to a $300 million contract? You fool. Our fate, my friends, I fear,
Yes,
is in the hands of fools.
100%.
King Crimson, 1969, their first album, the one with the face. All right, speaking of great faces here, and this is one handsome gentleman. And he also, I don't know, do you think he's shooting the same amount of Botox as Minervini? Because he never looks like he's aging
He hasn't aged at
at
all.
all. Yeah.
Yeah,
Dave Hyde from the South Florida Sun Sentinel joins us here on the show. David, how are you? Thanks for coming on the program.
Trust me, I've aged. I can't dunk a basketball anymore. Well, I never really could do that, but
Wow, you could dunk? Obviously not Jewish then. The Jews in my neighborhood, could never dunk. I was among them, and probably the poster child for that ineptitude. But we also hated, we were talking about Rick Pitino, we hated going against the full court press. Did you find that true? I mean, and now you grew up in Ohio, right?
Yeah, I grew up in Ohio where, none of my friends were I could dunk unless we walked out that 8-foot rim. That
yeah. And that always had the chains as the net, the 8-foot basket there.
Yeah.
And then you had to, push a couple of 6-year-olds off the court to get to the basket there. The I can't jump, white men can't jump slam dunk competition. But it was fun to be able to dunk. It really was. And I never could, though. I mean, even with a ladder or a trampoline, I would have had trouble dunking. All right. Let me ask you this, and we'll start here because the Hurricanes got what, we were tipped off might be a tough draw before the matchup was even made in Drake. What do you make of that? I mean, it's a 5 versus 12 where a lot of these upsets occur, and many of the handicapping pundits are pointing at this game and saying, well, if there was one that was going to happen, that might be the one. Now, what do you think going into this ballgame?
Well, even beyond the matchup, Miami's lost their one rebounder on their team in the first minute of the Duke game.
Yeah.
And
Omir? Is that Omir? Because we don't want to get this wrong when Jim Larranaga comes on.
Get the name out, NORAD. Yeah. But if they don't have him, they got to change how they play as far as who's going to rebound. Because he's their one inside presence, and so the fact they took Duke down to the wire was pretty impressive.
Yeah.
So look, what Drake's won, they have a winning streak of like 13 games or something like that going into the tournament, and meaning they're hot. And yeah, this is if Miami gets upset, no great surprise, but. At the same time, Miami's got a lot of things going for them. Larranaga's, for the second straight year, is having a really nice season.
Omir, have we heard anything? Last night we had dinner with Tony Segreto, who, talks with these guys all the time. He seemed to believe that Omir was going to be playing in this ballgame. Have we heard anything, positive one way or the other on that?
I haven't heard. Last I heard is they really had no great updates. So it's probably going to be one of those game time decisions. I got to admit, I didn't look up the article before we started here. But that's the key to Miami going into this game.
All right. How would you characterize? I mean, overall, well, let's say Miami loses this ball game. They're only 2.5 point favorites, and gets eliminated in the first round of the tournament. Where does that leave us? I mean, one thing I've been impressed with, Dave, and I don't know that I ever envisioned this happening, was these full crowds at the Wasco Center. And the kind of spirit that is embodied there, is contrary to anything that we had seen with basketball for the most part since its resurrection. A long time ago at the Knight Center, there was Bill Foster at the helm, and what do we have? We had Tito Harford and Kevin Presto hoisting threes from the Coke machine. I was following it in the early '90s, doing some of the games there for a few years, and I mean, it was dead. So how would you say the program is in terms of its status in town right now?
This is what they envisioned when they built the Watco Center, and no one's been able to achieve it. And what it shows me is you have a sustained winner. They had a great season last year, went to the Elite Eight.
Yeah,
you build off it this year, and people will come. And that's that you go up and down South Florida sports market and says how many teams have had sustained winners, and what Larranaga has done. He's a fascinating guy. One of the more fascinating guys in our sports market, and what he's done there is perfect, and for what Miami wants to do, and you only hope at 72 he can keep going for another 10 years.
It sure looks like it, man. I mean, the guy doesn't miss a beat. Yeah. If we ask him about Ernie DiGregorio one more time, he's probably going to hang up on us because his memory is far superior to ours, even when it comes to whatever material we're going to try and get out of him on the show here. What's your favorite aspect of the whole thing, the tournament? Are you a big fan of the college basketball tournament, Dave Hyde? I would imagine, as most sports fans, it's one of those things where I don't know that you have to feel guilty. Like announcers are always sportscasters are always trying to go, you should have been following the game all year. But I don't know that you need to feel badly about it because, people do get into the tournament. People that would otherwise have no interest, that they start following teams for a variety of reasons, whether it's like Sister Jean or, the St. Peter's run last year, which was great. There always seems to be a Cinderella story or, a Cinderella story associated with a player. What is it that brings you, the satisfaction out of watching the tournament? Or are you a big fan?
Yeah, everybody, when the games tip off, is a fan of the event, right? I mean, because there are 32 games, and out of those 32, you're going to get a handful of great games or dramatic wins or unexpected storylines, and that's the great thing about the tournament. And now it'll come down to, as it typically does, by the Final Four, it'll be 4 blue blood programs, but getting to that point, there'll be a lot of fun stories. So and then you get everybody does the brackets and all that stuff. So that brings in a whole other element to and common fans and non-fans really down here. The fun part of it this year for me down here is there's actually Miami and Florida Atlantic are in the tournament. So we got a local rooting interest of, who are these teams, and then can either of them make a run?
Yeah, I mean, we know Miami has demonstrated ability to, hold up under whatever pressure there is that, is added as kind of a vice grip on young kids that are playing in the tournament. FAU, I mean, that was really a Cinderella story. Jim Sarney says we didn't pay enough attention to it this year. We did have the coach, Dusty May, on the program, and he seemed like a real gentleman, and I didn't know anything about him. And then I watched a couple of, portions of FAU games, and I saw this guy on the sidelines. He looks to be the real deal. Did they have a chance to do anything of significance once the tournament gets underway?
Sure, they're a 9 seed. They're a 9 seed, so they have. That's a nice place to be.
Yeah.
In the tournament, and it tells you win 31 games in your regular season. Dusty May came 5 years ago. He wasn't planning on taking the job at FAU. He came down to the interview and said he was driving through Delray Beach, and he looked at his wife and said, "Wow, this is really nice." And all of a sudden, here he is 5 years later, and They win their conference tournament. They're 31 wins or a 9 seed. It's a the question becomes of a guy like this, if he makes a run in the tournament, all of a sudden his national profile goes up, and how long is he for FAU?
Yeah, I like the coach at Florida Gulf Coast who ended up at USC. And, the big story was that he took his wife, a gorgeous model, on their first date to a Taco Bell. And he became a cult hero, this guy, and naturally gravitated towards a real big job. Are you a fan of our friend Rick Pitino by any chance, Dave Hyde? What is your thought there?
Well, you're already penciling him for what, the St. John's job or something like that?
Everybody has him going there. It's not an uncommon thought. I thought that when I was looking at what was happening, they started to make some noise about Patino, is looking to get out of Iona because, he's using a rationalization that he wants to be, with a team in a conference that gets more than one bid. And I would imagine that was a byproduct of getting eliminated, surprisingly, last year by St. Peter's in his conference tournament. You could see where that would be something that I would say, in what could be his final stop or probably will be. I wouldn't mind seeing the guy get a chance on a bigger platform. I don't know how you feel about that.
We like people we know getting second and third chances, and that'd be Patino's case. Who I'm a fan of this year is, I don't know, in local story, Jim Crutchfield at Nova Southeastern.
Yeah, that's a big Sarney thing, man. Are you talking to Jim Sarney on a regular basis?
No. I actually talked to Crutchfield and did a column on him last week.
Oh, nice.
And he's an amazing story. Eric Spoelstra went and spent 5 hours with him watching video, then brought the Heat staff into Nova Southeastern. He's been flown up by the Boston Celtics. Larranaga took his staff down there to talk to him. He does things completely different than you get someone who, what was it, Steve Spurrier said, you either have to outwork everybody or think differently. Well, this guy thinks differently. Maybe he works just as hard too, but he thinks differently.
What does he do specifically that goes against the grain?
Well, it's things you can't do in the NBA, like a constant pressure on the ball, constant attacking on offense. Like he says, you look at a basketball game and there's always breaks in it when a guy walks the ball dribbling up the court, or they pass the ball outside for the duration, for their offense. And what he says, we don't have any of that. The idea is the attack on defense, attack, and so this school that had like Nova Southeastern had, I think, one win.
Is that right?
This season, over 18 wins before he got there. They've won over 23 games the last 4 years, and
wow.
They're 61-1 over the last 2 years as they play tonight in their tournament. So, anyways, he's a fascinating story. Which you wrap it up into what's going on. It's if you're a college basketball fan, this is like a dream year between Miami, FAU, and Nova Southeastern.
Maybe I should have considered a little more seriously the offer to do their games on the internet several years ago. But that was the only exposure they were getting, and I said, I really don't feel like watching that. They weren't a very good team back then. Dave Hyde with us, of course, premier columnist in South Florida and known around the country for his great work with the book Swagger as well, with Jimmy Johnson and many other offerings, including what was a red-hot commodity, the story of the perfect season, 1972, as the team celebrated its 50th anniversary. All right, let's turn the corner to a couple of other things here, and we're all going to be rooting for Jim Larranaga. He's going to join us later on in the program, and as you said, Dave, there are guys that you just always look forward to talking to in the sporting world, and I'm sure there are others that maybe you feel like, geez, this is going to be a little bit of a drag, but I'll see what I can get out of it. And Pat Riley, always my favorite interview here in South Florida. Among them, Schnellenberger, of course, Don Shula. But you would have to say that just a fascinating interview every time, Jim Larranaga. Every time that you get a chance to talk to him, so he's a real basketball treasure. All right, where do you see the Miami Heat? Are they going anywhere? Is there reason to be optimistic? Heat fans are should be feeling what right now about their team?
Not excited.
Yeah.
They won last night, but I just don't see them, with the kind of answers they need. Maybe, Kyle Lowry, it's sort of like you're banking on Kyle Lowry to organize this offense and to give them some point guard play that they really don't have. And then, that's kind of a weird thing to say considering Kyle Lowry's year. Is he in? Is he out? Is he any good anymore?
Yeah.
But no, I just, every time I thought the recent homestand, they had 6 games. That was sort of a time to show, okay, who are they? Because they got people back and what they went 3-3 over the homestand. I think that's who they are.
Yeah, it does seem to be up and down. Just as you get a little surge of optimism there, they come back and have a deflating loss like they did to Orlando, and it's been that way all year. Do you envision them? I mean, not counting what could potentially be a play-in game or play-in round. Do you envision them getting out of the first round of the postseason?
No, I mean, can they? Sure, but if you're saying will they, then we're talking. Who are they going to be matched up against is a good matchup, but that's the type of thing you got to look at if you're a Heat fan right now and you're thinking get out of the first round, because they just haven't shown, a 5-game series and then you win that 7 games. They haven't shown any consistency where you can trust that over, for three games are going to look really good and win a series. So, can they make it a series? Of course, they have some talent on their team, but I just don't think it's come together this year in the way that they expected. And the bizarre thing is they and everybody is noting this. They led the league in 3-point shooting last year, and they're near the bottom this year with much the same cast. And it's just bizarre that. A lot of the shots that fell last year aren't going down this year.
I need a team eye doctor. Yeah, Lubie's got something for you, Dave. I hope you have more time here because we got a few more things for you if you do.
Hopefully he has time. Well, and the thing that's interesting to me is, let's say they get to the 6th seed or the 7th seed, and they get to a Sixers or whatever. Like maybe they match up pretty well. Maybe they get by, but they're not gonna. It just doesn't feel like they're gonna beat 3 of those teams in a row: the Sixers, the Bucks, and the Celtics. My interest is Heat fans are complaining they're failing Jimmy Butler. They haven't done anything. Well, it's not for lack of trying. Like, we know Riley and Spoelstra and Ellisberg and that whole group the last 2 years has tried mightily in the offseason to upgrade this roster. They've just failed. What's different this year as in the years past? Well, how will they succeed in retooling this roster? Because obviously it needs to be retooled.
Yeah, I think, look, last year they came within a Jimmy Butler 3-pointer of going to the NBA Finals. So the question becomes, do we want to break that team up? Do we bring them back? And probably they brought pretty much the same team back. Now, after this year, you say, okay, what can we get for Tyler Hero? Do you consider trading Bam Adebayo? I think more things would be on the table if Philadelphia falls flat in the playoffs again. The NBA talk is Joel Embiid will want out of Philadelphia. Do you put a package together for him? I mean, those are the things. Look, when there's a big trade to be made that'll help the Heat, Riley and his crew have made that trade, or they're right in them. They're trying to make the trade. So I don't expect anything less this year. The question becomes, if you're the Heat, what will you give up? You have to give up something to get the proverbial whale. And look, they had no salary cap space, and they signed Jimmy Butler. They finagled things and cut corners and all that stuff. Made smart decisions. They signed Jimmy Butler to a max contract. So they've shown they can, and recently that they can get things done when needed. We'll just have to wait till the offseason and see what presents itself.
All right, one last thing. You've been very generous with your time here, Dave, and we know you probably have many things on your plate today. But can you help us with this question? How many blockbuster deals can you make and still be mediocre with the Miami Dolphins? I mean, I was blown away when they got Jalen Ramsey. I was thinking, wow, I mean, look at that, another monster situation here. They already added in Fangio, who's supposed to be this genius defensive coordinator, which is great. So, reason to be optimistic. Lubie says they signed some relatively obscure linebacker who is supposed to be, a great addition to the team. And they go out and get a backup quarterback for $16 million for 2 years, and Mike White from the New York Jets roster in free agency.
Solid.
What do we have? I mean, what do we have here? Is any of this going to work?
We have here.
And you didn't even mention the biggest signing, Vic Fangio, the defensive coordinator.
Fangio. We said they got this guy that's supposed to be great. Yeah.
Yeah. Look, they're all in for next year. They have basically traded last year's draft and this year's draft.
Okay.
For players and expensive players. And I mean, the Jalen Ramsey, everybody said, "Wow, they got him for a third-round pick and a Hunter Long. What a steal!" Well, it was a purchase. They're taking on his contract. Okay,
right.
It's not a trade per se, and so they're taking on people. They have, I think, overthecap.com that follows this stuff said that the Dolphins might have the least draft capital, meaning the fewest value picks. When you total them all up of any team in history this year, and they had almost
a complete reversal of form too, because they were telling us a few years ago that hey, we got to build with youth.
Hey, we're going to build.
We got all this draft capital.
They tried. They didn't
draft.
They failed. They didn't draft well at all, and so what they've done is we're going to go out and buy players. And you look what the Los Angeles Rams did.
Yep.
Yes.
And
they're now in shambles.
Nice window. They won the Super Bowl 2 years ago, or 2021, and now they're having to throw everybody overboard like Jalen Ramsey because they can't afford that. That's sort of the model suddenly the Dolphins are following, rather than this.
Oh yeah, I mean straight off the Daniel Pier. It's like a catastrophe. They unfortunately, I mean, they never managed to be the team that also wins a title while doing that. Which and a complete reversal from what they their stated philosophy was going to be, which you know how it is. I mean, you write a bunch of columns about this, where and get reation. We got to be patient here. This is the way to go, and they got all these number one picks, and
I hated the tank for tomorrow idea.
Yeah,
I mean, look at the Heat. They never throw away seasons. They never say go into a season saying, "Oh yeah, we're going to be bad for 3 years and rebuild and all that." That's insane. And so I never liked the tank.
Didn't embrace it.
Idea.
Yeah.
No,
I'm not a fan of it either. To be truthful, because it doesn't work. I mean, we see these franchises that have number one picks perennially, perpetually, year after year, and they're still garbage. I mean, a lot of them, including teams that are battling right now for the number one pick in the NBA, where Detroit and Houston every year are drafting in the top 5, and they can't get out of their own way. So and Philadelphia was in that situation for a long time.
Trust the process. If you're good enough to have to tank for tomorrow, you're not smart enough to build a team. That's really
beautiful way to wind this up. Dave Hyde, ladies and gentlemen. How's the book doing, Swagger? Still
all well.
Monster. Yeah.
A couple weeks ago at the Isla Morada Marine Flea Market, we walked around and bought a few lines for the boats and all that stuff. And
nice.
He's doing well.
Were you in the fishing tournament, or has that happened yet? Are you going to go out there and catch a couple of wahoo? Take Steve Waters with you, man. He knows how to fish. That guy knows how to fish.
He does. And not only that, he knows what fish you pull up too.
He can identify them. You don't have to look at it and go, I think that's a speckled catfish or something. I have no idea, right? I always catch garbage though. I always catch like stingrays and stuff that you just want to fire against a rock when you catch it.
You don't want that.
All right. Well, good luck with all of that, and always a pleasure, Dave. Man, thanks so much. We'll catch you in the South Florida Sun Sentinel, and hopefully sometime very soon here, back on the Defo Show. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks, Defo.
Thanks, Dave.
All right. Thanks a lot. It's a perfect time to mention Jimmy Johnson and Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill here. Mike Lubie Lubitz. And still excited about the prospect of going down there. I mean, could it be tomorrow? That would be great because it's supposed to be like 76 degrees and perfect weather outside, not a cloud in the sky. That's going to be a beautiful thing. We've been having great weather here because with global warming, there is no season anymore. I mean, it used to be like it would cool off for a few months. Nothing now, right? It's a blast furnace virtually every day here. I can't imagine what the summer is going to be like here, Luby. Has that gotten more temperate? In the reverse, cooling system. I don't know, but it's always cool to be in the Keys, is it not? For some reason, it feels like just like we talk about, when you walk into Hialeah Park, you feel like you stepped off the face of the earth and all your problems are behind you. It's the same thing. Let your troubles go and go down to Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill, mile marker 104, the Overseas Highway in Key Largo. Would you say it's worth it? Sometimes you have to jolt yourself into going to a different world, Libby, right? You're thinking, it's a long schlep. But when you do it, you realize I should be doing this on a regular basis. And you're going to love the food down there. If you're, inclined to stay, man, the accommodations are sensational. Look that up at jimmyjohnsonsbigchill.com. You really will find yourself in probably the most luxurious circumstances you've ever been in. And at the same time, while you got this totally casual vibe where you're out there by the pool, sipping a cocktail, maybe at the tiki bar there or, inside if you, want to stay out of the sun there for a couple of hours, you watch the games on TV. It must be dynamite, right? The sports bar for the tournament. Chugging down a bunch of beers there and eating some of that great food, including the Italian Fisherman Pizza, which is a spectacular, Luby.
Yep.
As you witnessed yourself and experienced yourself. So great food and drink, a great vibe, bands all day. I mean, all day and night. Into the night. The sunsets are spectacular. They're on the Bayside there at mile marker 104, the Overseas Highway. Make sure you make that part of your Keys itinerary or even just make a special trip to Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill. All right, coming back, Jim Larranaga is going to join us in about a half hour here on the show. That should be a lot of fun. And many things to discuss here on the program. We have given you zero insight into any of the play-in games tonight, which that's appropriate because we have zero insight as to how they're going to go. Does Arizona State beat Nevada tomorrow? I mean, would you go with Arizona State or Nevada in that game? That's to come into the tournament as an 11th seed. Arizona State, Nevada. Didn't Arizona State make a nice run in their conference tournament there?
I'm trying to remember.
Yeah.
I feel like Arizona State's done something recently, and I feel like the professors talked about Nevada, or Lang has talked about Nevada. Someone talking about Nevada. So I'm like, oh, no.
All right, so we know nothing about that game.
Yeah, that's conflicting.
And East Texas State, is that who's going against Fairleigh Dickinson?
East Texas State.
Fairleigh Dickinson, East Texas State. East Texas, yeah, it could be East
Southern. I see Texas Southern.
That's in the Eastern bracket. Okay,
Yes,
Texas Southern against
Fairleigh Dickinson.
Fairleigh Dickinson, unbelievable.
6:40 tomorrow. I know nothing about either team. I couldn't even.
Wow, Texas Southern, Fairleigh Dickinson, can they do it?
Texas Southern literally is 14-20. They're literally 6 games under 500.
Nice. All right, so maybe Fairleigh Dickinson has a shot there. No,
there you go. Fairleigh.
Oh, Fairleigh. Are they known as the Dicks? I don't know. Fairleigh Dickinson.
No idea where they are, what they are.
I was a big fan of Emily Dickinson. Very simple stuff, right? You could interpret it. You didn't have to, be some deep, philosophical thinker to come up with the meaning of those poems, right? Which was big back in the day. Do they still teach that in school, or is DeSantis banned that?
I don't know. I have no
Poetry?
idea.
Has he banned poetry yet?
I have no idea.
I don't want these kids reading this Robert Frost garbage, man. The guy was on a hell-bent mission of self-sabotage. All right, we're coming back with more in a moment. Now that
The time.
They haven't banned poetry? I mean, I don't even want to put the idea out there for its consideration. It's 8:12.
Folks, Tony Segreto here. Let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously, friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. All those ingredients, no pun meant there, are hard to find unless you're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. You see, they encompass all of those attributes. Really, really good food, amazing atmosphere, good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs unmatched, steaks hand-cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. It's the one day, folks, that you can forget about low-carb diets. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?
From the newly renovated sports bar to the beautiful bayside views captured at the Tiki Bar, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill has it all. Located at mile marker 104, the Big Chill also offers waterfront dining while experiencing breathtaking sunset views of the Florida Keys. It's simply the hottest spot in the Keys to cool off. That's Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill at mile marker 104 in Key Largo. For more information, call today at 305 453 9066.
This comes from the great Defo Lama. It's the bets you don't make, the chances you don't take that can compromise an otherwise incredible life, my friend.
The only way to get your morning started is with Defo, joined by Lubie, right here on The Defo Show.
All right, welcome back to the show. Jim Larranaga is going to join us about 8:40 this morning, and we'll talk with the UM basketball coach as he heads into the NCAA tournament again, and has to go against what appears to be a very formidable sleeper-type underdog, and a very slight underdog in Drake. 27-7 on the campaign. Miami's favored by 2.5 in this ball game. They are expecting. What would you say? I mean, what is considered a high-scoring game now in NCAA basketball?
80s,
150.
150.
No, I mean total. 150, 75, 75, something in that range.
Yeah.
I think the over-under is like 147. And the status, it is Omer. Is that not the kid that we're talking about that got hurt in the first minute? Because as I recall, did they not? Was that not a 7:00 game on either Friday night when they went against Duke? Was that aired at 7:00? Because I believe.
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out how I missed this, but I'm thinking back. I believe we had a brief power outage here, Lauderdale by the Sea, and I was all set, to watch the ball game. I was priming my, day around being in front of a television set at 7:00. Catch the Canes going against Duke, who I despise. I mean, Duke. Who wants to see the Blue Devils triumph? And all the steam, I felt anyway, was going towards Duke to win this ball game. And while you could have made a very valid case that the Hurricanes would end up prevailing, it just seemed like everybody had hopped on the Duke bandwagon. Did it not, Lubie?
Oh, yeah.
And they're still very much on there. I mean, this train has not stopped yet. This isn't one of those trains going through East Palestine in Ohio. Which does one of those trains crash every day from that particular railway?
I don't know.
What is it? It's like Northern Southern or something railways or whatever. I mean, something that makes no sense, right? Something that would have come off an episode of Dragnet, right? Where Jack Webb says, we were working a day watch out of the night division. You're like, what? Come on, Jack. Who wrote this script? Did nobody look at this before you got on camera? What are you talking about? Unbelievable. Yeah. But, we're certainly hoping that the Miami train does not get derailed here in the first round of the tournament. A very dicey, though, spot. And then Indiana is a team that has really gathered a lot of steam.
Yes.
As and had a lot of people that were pushing them. But Duke, held in high regard right now. It's John Shire. I mean, I thought he did a decent job. They always use the same cliches apply, and people always use the same thing. Well, once they got healthy. And I don't know how sick they were, but, apparently, there was something to that because as choppy as their play was in the early portion of the season, where you're thinking, wow, this guy is following in the footsteps of Coach K, they may as well be cement overshoes because it's going to be a quick, whoosh, maybe we made a mistake here and, get the hook for this guy. And he did turn the program around. Seems like a decent human being, John Shire, huh?
Seems fine. I mean, I don't know. Look, I think moreover, they built this team around a bunch of young kids, and we've seen that with Kentucky in recent years. Like when the young kids are the crux of your team, they either never get there or it takes them a long time to get there. And that's what this Duke ball club has been. I mean, look, the professor follows college basketball as much as anyone we know, and even he hadn't seen them turn.
Yeah.
But the last month, they started to show signs, and then the ACC tournament, they just put it all together. I mean, they look, the Filipowski kid's legit. I don't care what country of origin he is.
Yeah.
What team he plays for, the kid's legit.
And they have a couple of guys now that are popping threes.
Kid, the other, like the three kids that were like top. I mean, Filipowski, I guess, was the number one recruit, but they had three other kids that were like top 30. Those kids have all put it together. And they are starting to look. I hate saying it because I don't root for Duke. They're trying to put it together. And that's sort of scary.
I think they're dangerous. I mean, I'm not alone in that opinion. Not that my opinion is worth that much because But you know me. I mean, I'll spot things in college basketball. As we did with Devin Booker many years ago. No, but I mean, I don't need to watch like a zillion games. You still become aware of a few
Yes,
things just by
100%.
watching, highlights and segments and whatever and parts of games. Now, I'm not inclined to go the entire day and watch all of those games. Are you?
I will.
You will watch every game.
Oh, in the tournament. Oh my God, yes.
Yeah.
The fact that we have trivias and we have the lunchbox, because I'm gonna have to cut by the time we get done and I drive back. I'm gonna miss the first half of that first game Friday.
Yeah.
Even with Shirley, as much as she mocks my sports watching, I don't give a shit. Like,
Oh yeah.
since I'm
Now, how early does your bracket blow up? Like in the very first half of the first game, you already can see that the thing's going to be a bloodbath.
the only one I did this year is the believe stuff, because we're
I couldn't sign into that for some reason.
I'll try and show you. We have a day. I'll try and talk you through it. It's
now, do they count the playing games in most brackets? Like if you're
I never pick
involved?
a playing team, so the only way it screws you is if the playing team wins,
Yeah.
and then usually they don't. Usually they don't win that next game. So
Well, I mean, the two that come in as 11th seeds obviously would be a quarter to shot there.
I haven't picked them, so
Yeah, the two that come in as 16 seeds look like they're about to get trounced here. I mean, this is like that masked wrestler that comes in from the Midwest to take on Dusty Rhodes. And, Gordon Soley is trying to sell you the virtues of this guy. Well, we don't know much about him because his record is known. He's from parts unknown. And nobody knows who the hell he is. Who the fuck is this guy? Right? It turns out it's the promoter. Just happened to have like a stocking cap put it on there, and he's going to wrestle Dusty Rhodes. Give me a break. Who's going to win that? At the Miami Beach Convention Center on Championship Wrestling from Florida. They're going to let this cat from Minnesota come in here and take the title? You have to be kidding me. I mean, even the worst of scriptwriters in professional wrestling. Did you see this too? I mean, is this true? That the WWE, I mean, the audacity of Vince McMahon, I mean, facing all of these, scandalous accusations about how he's paid off women his entire lifetime, just to keep quiet. I mean, talk about holy Tiger Woods. But they want, to have legalized betting on professional wrestling. Can you imagine this? I mean, it's scripted. Lubie, there's no doubt about the outcome. How could they possibly allow this to happen? I mean, are people like dumb enough to bet on professional wrestling? Maybe it would be a very profitable thing since you pretty much know who's going to win, right? Just like I said. Is The Rock going to lose to some schlep wearing a ski mask? No. He might get annihilated for the better part of an hour, but, in the end, he's going to end up on top there. It's going to be 1, 2, 3 strikes, you're out. I probably shouldn't take a chance hitting the table like that with the fragility of this equipment. Something just turned on over here. So, it's kind of crazy. But yeah, can you imagine betting on professional wrestling? Which is it much different? Just are you guys out there, you degenerate sickos? Are you going to be taking just blind shots on games in the college basketball tournament? It would seem like it would be especially good to have some actual knowledge of what was going on and formulate your own opinion on this stuff. No. I mean, that's where, the professor, I respect his opinion. He's going to join us. We'll have a big-time Degenerate Friday because we'll also get some selections from Brandon Lang. We should try and talk him into joining us on the actual show.
The problem is
Thursday, the Vegas time, yeah.
So I don't mind being on Thursday. I mean, we can have him. We can do whatever you want. I don't mind Tuesday because that's the only problem with it being Friday.
He is sharp on his stuff, though. I mean, he's been razor sharp on college basketball this year. We haven't been able to connect with him for the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, he's been good.
Yeah, but no, I mean, and you can tell he knows his stuff. That's the thing. I mean, even if you lose and you respect the guy's opinion, maybe it helps you formulate your own opinion. I don't know that you should ever just these people that buy picks. I always found that a little bit bizarre. But if you're looking for an opinion and it's worth it, you say, "Wow, this guy loves this team, and so do I." Then go ahead, play it. To just buy someone's pick and you have no opinion on the game, Louie, what do you think of that? Kind of defeats the purpose of gambling, doesn't it? I mean, you want to be right, or are you just in it for the money, Louie? What do you think?
Yeah, well, I mean, the being right is important. Like, I don't have money on games, and I would get just as frustrated because I made an opinion on here that no one even remembers that I made. But I remember that I made that opinion, so I want to be right. So, yes, being right, it's not as big as the money, but it matters and it counts.
Yeah, I don't know that I would get that much of a thrill out of to look at it just strictly as an investment, where you have no opinion, you don't really care about the outcome. You're just calling some service and saying, or going online and getting the guys' picks, and then you're playing them. But you really don't have any other level of interest in the game. Could you do that? I mean, would that not, sort of be a very vapid way to be a sports fan? And all you care about is the outcome. I guess maybe, that level of indifference, if you could have that, you'd be a much better gambler, no?
Yes.
Where you really didn't care. But, I mean, look, there are times, say, you're looking at horse racing and you like a horse, and then some guy who you respect says, hey, you know what? The 3-ball has a shot in here. And you're like, oh, good. It just, confirms, your own belief. And I think that's what you'd be looking for with a lot of handicappers. Although, in Lang's case, he will tip you off to teams that you never even thought about making a wager on. Same thing with Mark Lawrence, and he's going to join us on Degenerate Friday.
Yeah.
And we know the professor knows his stuff. So I was talking about the Polyman the other day. By the way, the Polyman's doing fine. And he was saying that, the guys that we have on there are very diverse, including the Greek, and seem to have a pretty good leg up on what the hell is going on. So I'm looking forward to that because
It may
their
behoove
opinion.
us.
Yeah, go ahead.
It may behoove us to work in Ken and Greek. Lawrence is Lawrence, so I don't know if we're going to get him more than one day, but to work in the Greek and Ken Thursday as well, because game's Thursday, and to skip that over isn't great.
Definitely should have the professor.
I was going to have Blake.
Yeah.
What happened is we usually get Blake Chadwick.
Yeah.
I don't even know if you knew this, but Blake now works for WWE.
He's now calling professional wrestling on a high level. Yeah.
He's with NXT, which is the place right under WWE, but it's actually become so big that they also are on the USA Network and Peacock, and they're on national TV, and he calls wrestling.
Oh, nice. Wow.
And he actually is so big.
There's a shot to the solar plexus.
Exactly. Gordon Solie.
Wow.
Exactly. So we've actually joked that he would actually outgrow us.
Yes.
He has. He actually can.
He has? Wow.
He
didn't have time for the basketball picks,
He wants to join us. No, it's not he's blowing me off kind of a thing. It's he's new. They're a big company. So he would actually have to get clearance.
I see.
I was going to make him push it. He's literally started like 2 months ago. So we would normally have him that Thursday. So I don't usually feel bad. He knows his stuff as well as anyone. We won't have him Thursday. So that's why I'll work on getting Ken and the Greek maybe to come on Thursday as well.
Julian says Kennesaw State is plus 50 dimes to win it all.
There's a reason. I don't give a shit if it's
You'd
great.
probably be willing to book whatever you had on Kennesaw State to win it all. As I am willing to do with Gonzaga, Lubie. Gonzaga will not win the tournament this year. So now that I've said that, you can jump on this thing as a number 3 seed. Gonzaga, such great expectations. It was Charles Dickens plus, man. You could smell the the atmosphere there in the fog, as you're in. And this guy was going to line up a couple of kids to go beg on the streets, which you would be doing, I think, if you invested a large amount of money in Kennesaw State to win it all at plus 50,000. Could they be? No, 50,000 to 1? That can't be. 500 to 1 to win the tournament? Those are even, odds that you would be unlikely to see anywhere on the board. All right, do you have a winner, Lubie? Do you want to venture? We're going to talk to Jim Larranaga here and try and get in the whole spirit of this whole college basketball thing that's coming up. And he certainly will help us get there. I don't know how much he wants to talk about this Duke game. What do you think? Lubie, do we get into that at all? I mean, that would be the the platform from which to start to say, hey, so what does that say about your chances of going all the way in this tournament? Or is he going to look at me and hear us saying that and just immediately hang up the phone? What do you think?
No, he'll talk. I mean,
he's not like that though. Yeah.
The game just happened, and you're not going to slam him on it. I'm sure he'll talk about it. I just the only relevance that game to me has for the tournament is the fact that I guess his name's Omir. They've lost Omir. Omir, I look, what's funny is we've talked to him like 3 or 4 times in the last 5 weeks, and we've never mentioned that guy. So it's weird.
Omir, no, he was one of the big transfers, I guess, in reading the storyline of the Hurricanes basketball season. And that was his thing. I mean, he was particularly effective off the offensive boards. And he was giving him a big leg up in that category, and also was capable of getting some conversion baskets. So he was a huge factor, right? Only 6'7". They're not a team that is graced with a lot of height. So and most of their guys, even though Isaiah Wong is listed at 6'4" as a guard, so
Yeah,
that's
he's not a big.
is he that big? 6'4"?
No, he's not a big. And Nigel Pack's tiny, and the Jordan Miller kid's not big. Like, I mean, it's just funny. We talked with Larranaga a lot,
Yeah.
and we have never focused on the fact they have no size like, at all.
Well, I mean, because they were putting pressure on teams offensively, so you tended to maybe ignore the rebounding aspect as being crucial. I mean, it is true. They hung right to the end there. I mean, the
They
final
did.
margin was 7, but
They did.
I mean, it was teetering back and forth between like 2 and 6 points all throughout the final 5-6 minutes of the basketball game. So they were in there with a chance to win. Nigel Pack checked up a couple of bombs from 3-point range, and we've talked to Larranaga about that, and he says he has no fear with this guy shooting. But sometimes you can tell. If you were a chucker yourself, you can kind of tell if a guy's going to be in rhythm to make a shot, and that he's going to go for one maybe prematurely, like Nigel Pack did a couple of times, and that didn't help him any either. Plus, like I said, with Jay Billis refereeing the game from the announcer's booth, you think Larranaga will accept us saying that?
You can. He'll accept anything. I mean, he puts up with us a lot. So
we can say it. He would be too dignified to go ahead and say something like that. Tony Segredo, though, says, hey, this kid's going to play. That he has that on inside information. I don't know. Do you want to trade on that?
He has inside information. He says he believes the kid will play. So, and again, I said we can ask Larranaga, and even Tony was like, hey, he's not going to tell you anything. I don't think he'll tell us if he's not playing, but if he is playing, there's no reason for him to hide it. Like,
he would have a good idea if the guy was all right. I mean, maybe it was like a minor thing, but kept him out of the game that day, and didn't swell up too badly, and he's all right. It does seem, for this guy to come back that quickly, from an ankle sprain, which we've seen now is keeping Kevin Durant out.
Yes.
Do you think that guy got fired that was supposed to be mopping up the court there, where Kevin Durant was warming up for the Suns? I mean, that was clearly. I mean, there's a wet spot on the floor. The guy slips and falls. I mean, he was on the phone to Cohen and Cohen as he was on his way to the locker room. Unbelievable. That would take him out now. Through the end of the regular season, I think, for the Phoenix Suns. So huge impact there, and that may be a cursed franchise. No, Phoenix Suns.
They're nowhere. Well, I mean, what's his name sucks. Sarver. What's funny is players have always hated Sarver.
Yeah.
So that's what they thought. Then they started winning. But Sarver's still there. It's like the Knicks winning. Like if you're on,
I thought he was selling a team or something.
I don't think he has sold it. That's what I'm saying.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Still the owner, so you still have his stench. So as much as they've won in spite of him, James Jones, the Heat protege, has done a really good job.
Yeah,
it's still there. So
there's a dark cloud hovering over that franchise.
Exactly.
No, I believe so.
They got to the finals, were up on the Bucks, and then lost 4 in a row. They had the number 1 seed.
Imagine it. Yeah.
And couldn't get past the freaking, what was it, the Mavs or the Grizzlies? Like the Mavs. I think it was the Mavs of all teams. A one-trick pony. They have talent. They've actually done well, even in spite of Sarver. And still, it just seems like, and Mikal Bridges is playing out of his mind.
Killing it with the Nets. Unbelievable. Guy looks great. Looks better than Durant. Where the hell was this kid?
And that's the thing. So,
unbelievable. Yeah, and with apologies to Dan Marley on this. I mean, it seems like the Suns are cursed. Ever since look, they lost that coin flip for Kareem, for God's sake, right? And they ended up with Neil Walk from Florida, the guy with the hairiest back in the history of basketball, this side of Paul McKeskey.
Yeah, it's still Sarver. As we speak, Sarver is still the owner, and Sarver, by most accounts, is a douchebag. So,
people despise this guy, man. I mean, he makes Donald Sterling look like he was on the up and up. In spite of him whispering to, I mean, the V Stiviano, was that her name? V Stiviano.
Now, okay, like Matt Ishbia has been announced as a new owner, so that may help them going forward. But he wasn't announced as a new owner until February 8th. So that means still most of this season, Robert Sarver was the owner. So I don't think whatever Ishbia is going to do for them going forward, I think Sarver would get part of the credit for the championship. And I think that's
And therefore, that would be, strictly in contrast to the curse
still exists.
that has been placed over the stench that this man has created there in Arizona. There, even cacti are wilting out there in the desert from the hovering stench of this team. All right, we're going to come back and really freshen things up here with Jim Larranaga. He's going to join us in just a few minutes here on the program, so stick around for that. Jim going against Drake, and that is what, a Friday game, Mike Lubie? It's a Friday game.
Friday, 7 o'clock.
All right, so that's good. The extra day probably gives Omir a chance, at playing in the ball game. It's possible.
Yes.
Let's hope so. And, we'd like to see Miami get out of this first round, of course, and then in all likelihood face Indiana, who was playing some really good basketball, Lubie.
Yeah, I know.
Really good ball, and that's to get to the Sweet 16. So we'll see if that happens, and we'll talk about it with Jim Larranaga here in just a few minutes. I'm Jeff DeForest. That is Mike Lubitz, and we'll be coming back with more in a moment. Now that it's 8:34. Ponies in Style at Champions, the outstanding simulcasting room at beautiful Hialeah Park. Yes, the grand old lady of thoroughbred racing has never been more vibrant, and you can wager on the races from the top tracks around the country while enjoying a cocktail at the Brass Rail Bar or any of the fine food served throughout the facility. If poker is your game, you're covered in style, and you can play all your favorite Vegas-style games, including blackjack, craps, and roulette, in Hialeah Park's sizzling hot casino. Get a player's card when you walk through the door for all kinds of generous amenities, including our favorite, free play, when you come out to the ultimate casino and entertainment destination, Hialeah Park.
Hey folks, Tony Segreto here. Since day one, Catholic Health Services has been part of Old School. And since we've started letting people know about them, it's changed their lives. You see, Catholic Health Services, while being recognized as one of the top places for stroke rehab in the country, it's also about a group of people who not just excel in what they do, from the doctors to the nurses to the therapists, on and on and on. It's how they do what they do every single day that separates them from the pack. They do it with a passion, unmatched, and the inclusion of family in every step of the process. Trust me when I tell you this. If you want the best, unmatched rehab with a special group of skilled, caring people, there is truly only one place, and that one place is Catholic Health Services.
These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in the Plantation location, because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. First of all, they're not only open for delivery and pickup. All you have to do is go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both pickup and free delivery. Their hours have changed a little bit. Monday through Thursday from 3:30 to 10, and Friday, Saturday, and Sunday from 11:30 to 10. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers, Raw Bar and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home.
Jim Larranaga, we love you, Jim Larranaga. Coach Larranaga, won't you do us a favor? Bring us a winner. One stinking winner, deliver a winner in this town filled with losers.
Buenos dias. The cafecito is piping hot. Why not enjoy it with Defo and Lubie? It's now time for the Defo Show.
Once again, everybody, welcome back to the show here on South Florida Live. Jeff DeForest, Michael Lubitz, the Defo Show, and this man has delivered on that man's wishes. The person with the singing rendition of Jim Larranaga, and has delivered a winner, a consistent winner here, and it's a pleasure to be able to bring him to you. As once again, we welcome to the program the head coach at the University of Miami basketball program, the great one himself, Mr. Jim Larranaga. Jim, how are you, my friend?
I'm good, Defo. Getting ready for the big dance.
Let's go.
Yes, have you polished up the shoes? I mean, every year, obviously, that's every team's goal is to go dancing, and you've done it under a variety of different circumstances with different teams. How did it feel this year, and how shiny are the shoes?
Our guys did a fantastic job all season long. We were 9-1 in non-conference play, had a lot of terrific wins. We went through the conference regular season, which is really a marathon.
You got to grind it out. We went 15-5. We're co-champions with Virginia, the regular season champs of the ACC. We went into the ACC tournament as the number 1 seed. So I'm really, really proud of this team and what they've already been able to accomplish. But we got our fingers crossed that we got a lot more to do.
Well, and they were excellent from bell to bell, and you guys had extended winning streaks a couple of times during the course of the season, and then, as you said, finished up the regular season atop the ACC. I remember last year you thought the ACC wasn't necessarily getting the proper dose of respect, and then they distinguished themselves very well in the tournament. What was your feeling about the way the league was treated this year?
Yeah, we are still underappreciated, I think, and the perfect example is Clemson that went 14-6 in the ACC, didn't even get an invite to the Big
Wow.
Ten. So, we feel like the ACC is still the best basketball league in the country, but the experts and the analytics say that the Big 12, the Big 10 are better. But when we played the ACC Big 10 Challenge back in early December, the ACC won 8-6. So I don't understand how they get considerably more teams in. They've got 8 to our 5.
Jeez.
That doesn't make any sense to me.
All right. Well, let's hope you give them something to think about with the ACC teams, including the University of Miami, throughout the tournament. Going back to the Duke game that went Duke's way in the tournament, the ACC tournament. Your big guy on the inside goes down in the first minute of the ball game, and people are saying, "Hey, I mean that made it very prohibitive for UM to sustain any kind of balance with Filipowski and some of the inside players that Duke puts on the floor." What was your feeling about that, and how is Omer coming into the NCAA tournament?
Well, I kind of joked afterwards that Derek Lively deserves the MVP of the ACC because it was his foot that created the sprained ankle on Norshad Omer. He came down with a defensive rebound and landed on Derek Lively's foot and missed the rest of the game. And that certainly hurt us because Norshad is a fantastic defensive rebounder, one of the best in the country, top 3, I believe. And without him, we struggled to keep those 7-footers of Duke off the offensive boards.
Yeah.
And we were only down 4 with just under 2 minutes to go. And had we been able to get some defensive rebounds and offensive rebounds, that game could have easily been ours and we could have been in the championship game against Virginia. But our guys battled really hard. Anthony Walker did a good job of stepping in and stepping up, and AJ Casey did a good job off the bench as well. But Norshad is rehabbing that ankle. We won't know his status for at least a couple of more days.
Okay, and you have a couple of more days because you get the Friday start against Drake. And we were talking to a gentleman that does some handicapping for us, and what was a college basketball coach previously, and he mentioned before the tournament that he thought Drake was a sneaky team, and it was a team that should be held in high regard coming into the tournament. And then lo and behold, as a 5th seed, you draw Drake. What can you tell us about Drake outside of the fact that obviously they ended the season very strongly and finished up 27-7? I think Lubie said they were on a 9-game winning streak to end the year. How do you size them up, and how do you match up against them?
Yeah, they've won 13 of their last 14 games. They're an extremely experienced team. Their point guard is 25 years old, Roman Penn.
Jeez.
And he's outstanding quarterback. And DeVries is their leading scorer. He's the coach's son. He adds a new dimension to the Drake team because he's Mr. Inside and Mr. Outside. He can play the 3, the 4, or the 5. He's 6'7", can shoot the ball from very deep range, but he's also very skillful going to the basket, driving. He can post you up. If you switch a smaller guard onto him, he can shoot right over him. So he's very, very good. But they have the leading 3-point shooter in school history in Wilkins, their 2 guard, and the leading rebounder in school history in Sturts, their 3-man. So those guys are experienced and very skillful, and they blend so well together. They each have their own strengths, and they play very, very well together. There's a team that beat the conference regular season champion Bradley like by 26 points in the conference championship. So Drake has definitely earned its way into the tournament.
Well, Coach, and I know we've talked about this, and you have a bunch of transfers, and you also have a bunch of guys that were on the group last year that went to the 8s. I'm always curious as, yes, it's just another game. It's just another weekend of games. However, it is, you said it, and I can hear the excitement in your voice, and watching you talk at half, I can just see the excitement this time of the year is for you and your guys. How do you keep this week as just another week and not let the big dance, March Madness, NCAA tournament stuff get to them?
Well, the one thing is we do have 7 players returning from last year's team, and they know my approach. And that is we're going to take it one day at a time. We're going to prepare for the next opponent and get ready to play our best basketball on Friday. We had a terrific practice yesterday. The mood of the team was terrific. And the way I can easily judge the mental and emotional state of our players is when practice was over, did everybody run off the court and want to get out of the gym? Or did a bunch of guys stay around and enjoy each other's company and shoot some? And yesterday, after practice, most of the guys just stayed around and shot and laughed and joked around. They didn't even want to leave the court. So I think from a mental and emotional standpoint, we are very ready to play.
Jim Larranaga, UM head basketball coach with us here. They go against Drake on Friday, first round of the NCAA tournament. Very dangerous, as you pointed out, Coach. 25-year-old leading the team there. I mean, in school longer than John Butarski, and that has to give him a little bit of a leg up. Naturally going against much younger kids. You hear a lot of different things about what wins in the NCAA tournament. People would say it's guard play, maybe it's free throw shooting in the clutch or three-point shooting. What do you see? I mean, if there is anything different about winning in the tournament as opposed to regular season or conference tournament games, what would be the key point of emphasis that you think, hey, we have to have this if we're going to win consistently and go deep into the tourney?
Okay, let me answer that by just saying that you're not playing a home game. A lot of teams are great at home.
Yeah.
You're not playing an away game. A lot of times you play an opponent on their home court, they're really, really good.
Yeah.
You're playing at a neutral site. No one has the home court advantage. That's the first thing. We tell our team, hey, it's not about who we play or where we play. It's about how we play.
Yeah.
Do we execute our game plan better than our opponent executes its game plan? And the same fundamental qualities that help you win during the regular season will help you win in the tournament. That is, play great defense, rebound, and limit your opponent's chances to get offensive rebound. And at the offensive end, share the ball, get everybody involved offensively, and take quality shots. If you take good shots, there's a good chance you can make a good percentage.
You've been, part of a Cinderella story going to the Final Four with an underdog team, and you've taken this Hurricane team now deep into the tournament a couple of times and had success there. Just a couple of things, if you don't mind, Coach. Of the moments personally that you've experienced in the NCAA tournament, what would you say? Can you pinpoint one or two that were your favorites?
Well, I'd have to say last year our run to the Elite Eight, because we were a 10 seed, and a lot of people thought we were going to get beat by Southern Cal in the first round. And when we won, everybody expected us to get defeated by Auburn with their two big guys, Jabari Smith, who would be one of the top draft choices. But our guys, we actually won that game by 18 points.
Wow.
We were kind of considered overachievers, but to me, what it was is the matchups. Auburn and Southern Cal were very big, but we were very quick and very good defensively in the NCAA tournament. We trapped a lot. We forced a lot of turnovers. We really shared the ball on offense. And so I think matchups is really the big key. You know, how well do you match up with the opponent, their style of play? And we have faced so many different styles. You know, you got Syracuse in the 2-3 zone. You got Virginia in the pack line defense. You got NC State in the full court press. So we feel very, very comfortable in any tempo and playing any style because the ACC has prepared us very well.
Do you, in preparation, not even because of the moment and it's big, but just because of the way that it's a mad dash, if you do go as far as we hope you go, it's 2 games every weekend, which is not necessarily what happens, especially in college basketball. So in this week leading up, do you prepare any different? Is it less taxing, more taxing? How do you get them ready for that much action in that short of a time span?
Yeah, that's a good point. But during the ACC regular season, we're playing at least 2, sometimes 3 games in a week, and some of those are travel. This time, we'll get up to Albany tomorrow. We'll have plenty of time to rest up and gear ourselves up for the game on Friday. The tough part is the quick turnaround, but at least you get 1 day to do that. In the ACC tournament, we played on Thursday, then had to turn around and play Duke on Friday. And we did that, shorthanded without Norchad Omier. In fact, in our last 2 losses, we did not have a full squad. Norchad missed the Duke game, and Nigel Pack missed the Florida State game. So when we're at full strength, we're awfully hard to beat. When we're healthy and playing our best, we're awfully hard to beat. Hopefully, Friday will be one of those nights. Hopefully, I got my fingers crossed that Norchad comes back. But even if he doesn't, I mean, we scored 78 points against a very fine Duke team. So hopefully, we can still play extremely well.
Oh, we'll all be rooting for you. One final thing, if you don't mind, Coach, and always appreciate your time here on the show. And no, I'm not going to ask you about Ernie DiGregorio again, but I did think about it, crossed my mind, and I thought, well, geez, we checked that one off a few times ago. But the tournament, some people say, well, geez, people who had no interest in college basketball all year, all of a sudden they're big fans. What happened there? And I personally don't mind it because it really is true. The cliche applies. The tournament always delivers. Our good friend, mutual friend Leslie Visser, always says that. And there's so many different things that can happen, whether it's a coach that's on the rise or a team or, even a team's mascot like a Sister Jean. There have been a zillion just marvelous moments, sporting moments in the tournament. I still envision Jimmy V running out there looking for somebody to hug after what looked like an air ball turns into a winning basket. And, the Kemba Walker run with UConn. What stands out to you? We asked you about the personal side of that. Is there, a particular magical moment, that you will, have an indelible impression about that came out of the tournament?
Well, for me, the personal side of this is huge. When I was at George Mason University, our team was an 11th seed, and everybody expected us to lose to Michigan State in the first round. When we beat them, we were supposed to lose to Carolina in the second round. And then when we played UConn in the Elite Eight, they were the number 1 seed in the tournament, and everybody gave us absolutely no shot at beating a team that had 6'9", 6'10", 6'11", in their front court. We were 6'4", 6'5", 6'7".
Yeah.
So getting to the Final Four in 2006 was an awesome accomplishment for that team and a memory I'll never forget because, we had a player who was hurt. Our big man, just like Norchad Omier, had a sprained ankle now. Jai Lewis, our 6'5", 293-pound center, had 2 sprained ankles and was very doubtful whether he would play. And he soaked his 2 ankles in a lake because obviously it was very cold at that time of year. The water had to be like in the high 30s or low 40s.
Wow.
And he soaked it in there for hours and hours and hours to get rid of the swelling. He taped it up and then led us to the Final Four.
Jeez.
So there's always some great storylines that occur during the NCAA tournament. And I've been a part of several of them.
Holy Willis Reed. Yeah, no, that's a great story. Yeah, so many different things. Coach, we wish you the best of luck. We always thank you. I mean, it's always great having you on the program or talking to you under any circumstances. Just a real basketball treasure here in South Florida and around the world. And wish you the best of luck in the tournament. We're hoping for a big run and hope to talk to you again after, maybe we're making an appearance in the Sweet 16. Thanks for being with us.
Okay, guys. Thank you.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks a lot. Coach Jim Larranaga, man. Basketball treasure chest, no? Oh, Louie?
Oh, he's great. And he's honest. And that's why, I knew he'd give us, I know he would definitely give us.
Didn't sound like Omer was going to be ready to go, did it?
It sounded weird. Like what he said near the end when he was like, when we're fully healthy, when we're fully. And if the guy really thinks he has no shot, especially Larranaga, who's as honest as he is.
Yeah.
Like this interview is not going out to the world. He's not trying to, maybe the Drake scouts are listening to Defo and Lubie. Like he's not Bill Belichick. Like he's pretty honest. So for him, if Omer had no shot,
yeah,
I don't think
he would have said so, and he was a scratch for sure.
I don't think he may not say he's not playing, but I don't think he'd be throwing out the when we are healthy thing.
That was usually, the rolling the ankle after stepping on somebody's foot in basketball.
Either way,
if it turns over, like apparently it did. I mean, because there are times you can keep playing after doing that, and then it swells up and looks like a bowling ball. And usually, my experience was you were going to be out for 2 weeks if you did something like that and didn't like tear anything, right? Because everybody's done it, in playing some kind of recreational basketball where you land on a guy's foot. And, as much as you like to play, you were thinking, no, oh, Jesus, I'm going to be out for like 2 weeks here and I'm not going to be able to run. But it seldom was better after a week's time. Would you agree with that, Lubie? Is that a fair assessment as just a peripheral medical opinion based on, actual life experience? Where, you've rolled ankles, I'm sure.
Yes.
Stepping on something, and I've always found it like in basketball, coming down as one of those deals you land on a guy's foot after shooting or getting a rebound. It's more likely that I was shooting, and it would be about 2 weeks if you rolled it. And you could feel it. You knew it was like, oh fuck. You couldn't believe that it just rolled over. Like that was that. But a lot of times you could keep playing. Sort of that night. It wasn't that bad.
It's what he said about his guy Jai Lewis with George Mason. It's all about the swelling. If you can keep the swelling down and keep it from returning, then you can allow it to start healing. And then he got hurt early and they never thought about bringing him back at all. So maybe that's why they didn't even take a chance, because
he should have been on ice, that kid, from the time he left the game.
Exactly. No matter what, it didn't like maybe they go from a 3 seed to a 5 seed, but they didn't need it to get into the tournament. So maybe from that moment on, they didn't mess around with it. And that's why it feels like he has hope he's going to play. And Soto has hope he's going to play. He may not play in this game, but it feels like he thinks that if he doesn't play in this game, he can get in the game Sunday. And look, I'm reading tea leaves, but a lot of what he said is not what coaches say when a guy is definitively out. So, and he's not wrong. They did put up, look, whatever the tournament is, it's not equal. Yeah, Duke obviously is better than Drake, but that doesn't mean that Drake can't play better in the tournament. However, without Omer for pretty much the entire game, they put up 78 on a Duke team that a lot of people think can make a run. If they can put that effort together, you may be able to give Omer.
What are you saying? Do they beat Drake or not, Lubie?
I think they win. I'm picking them to win the first 2 rounds.
All right.
I think they'll probably lose in the 16s. This group, I just don't know if they're able.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure they get out of the first 2 games.
I know.
We'll see.
12-5 win, and
I'm a little concerned. I would have to say that. I would not have been concerned if I hadn't seen recent developments. And then, like you said, this Omer kid, really, if you watched UM basketball, he was a huge factor more often than not. And definitely there was something missing there because they had Filipowski was having, a field day in there.
But that's the thing. Duke
looked like Will Chamberlain himself. He really did. Like the Big Dipper.
Larranaga used an interesting, and I didn't realize this. Larranaga said 7-footers.
Yeah.
Duke has multiple 7-foot
right.
players. I don't think Drake's going to have multiple 7-foot players that are competent.
And but they got this 30-year-old point guard there.
That's the thing. The guards are the one thing the Hurricanes have a strength at. Pat, Miller, and Wong are 3 of the best guards in the country. So if the guards are where they're strong, then that plays right into the Canes' hands.
I think I'm going to say they beat Drake and maybe lose to Indiana. That could be. But obviously it depends how they look against Drake, and then that would help them a lot. There's another couple of days before the possible Indiana matchup. Indiana has to beat Kent State as a 3 versus a 14, something like that.
I think there are 4 versus 13. 4 versus
Okay,
13.
something in that category. A couple of passings in the world of sport. Joe Pepitone, Julian points out. Joe Pepitone, checked out. Yeah, and Dick Fosbury. I saw something on the news about Dick Fosbury. The Fosbury flop revolutionized the way people, went about attempting the high jump, and was a world champion and world record holder in the high jump. I think, for many, many years and many different heights that he advanced the sport of high jumping. Dick Fosbury, right? First guy to dive over the bar backwards. Did he still do that? Remember, see, like when I was in gym class, they had you do that scissors split. And I couldn't do this anyway because I'm as unflexible as anybody could possibly be. Both hamstrings would go immediately as soon as we attempted the high jump. And it wasn't like they were putting the bar at, some prohibitive height. No, it was usually like at an embarrassing height that I tapped out at. But Fosbury was great. And, that was when track and field was much more in the public eye, courtesy of the anthology shows like Wide World of Sports. You would get a pretty good, feel for what was going on in track and field, which was tremendous. By the way, did you see this? Oh, Lubie, speaking of the Miami Dolphins, your Miami Dolphins, who have been in action. Tyreek Hill was in some track meet.
I know, but he did horrible.
But I think he won, didn't he? Didn't he win like the 60-yard dash or something?
The race he was in, he did well, but when they took the times and compared it to the best runners in the world, it was like 60th.
Okay, but still impressive, man. I mean, I don't know who these stiffs were that he was going against in a track meet then, because that was always a very exciting event to cover when they had, I believe it was a 60-meter sprint.
Yes.
And it was usually indoors. I used to cover a lot of indoor track and field when I was writing for these newspapers in California. And then later on, for a variety of other reasons, I'd end up covering track and field, TV, whatever. And, it was great, man, because I got to cover it during a really, really terrific era. And I loved that 60-yard dash where they ran into the padding on the wall on the indoor meets.
I love that. That.
And they followed him like it was Randall Hill running out of the tunnel there at the Cotton Bowl, man. But in this case, it was a brick wall that they were going to run into. And the guys were going so fast they couldn't stop, even though they had like what would seem to be at least a reasonable amount of distance to stop their momentum. But they were just flying, absolutely flying. Indoor mile was always great, man, on one of those 8-lap wooden tracks. The chairman of the boards, Eamon Coughlin, man, he knew how to use the elbows there. He was, Riddick Bowe, just knew how to use the elbows a little bit, just to rough you up a little bit on the inside. All right, that's going to do it for us. But, rest in peace, Dick Fosbury, revolutionary high jumper, and Joe Pepitone, one of the most popular Yankees of all time. Everybody liked Joe P. there with the hair dryers and, all of the things that he did. He did have a hell of a head of hair, did he not, Joe Pepitone?
Oh, yeah, he had a great head of hair.
Wow, and the big schnoz, and was a very popular player. And as I want to say, was also known as a real gentleman, Joe Pepitone. You didn't hear a lot of controversial stuff about Joe Pepitone. He seemed to be very gracious and well accepted there with the fans, right? Everybody, was a big fan of. It was kind of like Eddie Kranepool with the Mets, Joe Pepitone with the Yankees. Everybody loved the guy. That was the way it was. Well, wasn't the greatest ball player, but wasn't bad. Not bad at all.
Exactly.
All right, we will see you guys 12 o'clock today. You're going to be on the road with Mike Mayo. I'm going to try and jump on the thing there at the beginning, although, usually it's a wash anyway. But
it's not needed.
See what happens there, yeah.
El Guanaco will be out there. It's a Mexican/Salvadorian.
I could go for some Mexican food, but after that Texas Roadhouse meal last night, I don't think I can eat again until like tomorrow. My God, that was
Mayo does it. In one meal, I ate more than I normally eat.
Yeah,
He does it for like 3 meals back to back to back. I don't know how he does it. I can't.
No, he's pushing the limits on that, Mike Mayo, and we'll see where it goes. I mean, I'm hoping for the best for the guy. But it'll be now. Where is this? Do you know where the location of this restaurant is? In case people want to get out there and meet Mike or Nikki Mohan. No,
he's about Prospect Road, but I don't know the specifics. So,
okay,
we'll figure it out. It's called El Guanaco. El Guanaco.
Guanaco. Okay. And thanks very much. By the way, Julian asking who picked up the tab at this dinner last night. Of course, it was Ed Garcia, man.
Yeah, we were at
What a fascinating guy he is, too, huh? I mean, he
Oh,
really
well,
is.
look, and we know there's more depth to everyone than we know, but we've talked to him for years now.
Yeah.
I didn't. He was. Yeah. We see him, but I guess we're on air, so we got to see a different side of him, which was cool. You know, he's a businessman, but he has a really good family man.
Wow.
And it was great to sit down and getting to chat with him in person.
What a sense. You know what? I appreciated this. I wish Mayo had been there because, I mean, the detail that they go to present like even jalapeno poppers.
Yes.
Was very impressive, you know, because you wouldn't think it is. You would figure like a place that has 600 locations, they probably have one central distributor of everything, and it's pre-made and ready to go, like something like that, like an appetizer. But they really go to great pains to make sure that everything comes out even more spectacular. And I would have to say, those jalapeno poppers, which I'm not necessarily inclined to order, as a preliminary for a steak dinner, they had some pop.
Yes.
Those were great. Yeah. I mean, you could taste, the effort that went into making them as opposed to, just going to a Restaurant Depot and getting a bunch of fried jalapeno poppers that are served, the same way, in various levels of greasiness at, several different restaurants. So that was interesting. And, he was talking about all these different items that they make that they, go through like a 2-day process to prepare, and really interesting stuff. You could see why they're successful because they take a lot of pride in what they do. Texas Roadhouse, one of our fine sponsors. Segreto will be with us tomorrow.
Yes, sir. And Ed as well.
And Ed Garcia. Yeah. So that was great. We can talk about the experience we had. And also, you'll, be with Mike Mayo later on today. Mike Mayo's Lunchbox. That's always a lot of fun. And I will see you guys tomorrow at 7 in the a.m. And then maybe even before that, because people are catching us as we're actually doing the recording of the Defo 15.
They are, but it'll be posted. I think it's going to be posted shortly on 5 Reasons Sports Network. So I'll check that out. Our little short blurb that we did early this morning.
Yeah. All right. I'll let you get running here, Lubie. I know you got a lot to do here to get down to this location that you don't know where it is, because that's always prohibitive also in terms of actually getting there on time. But you always manage, which I give you credit for. So Mike Mayo's Lunchbox at 12, and I'll see you guys tomorrow on our variety of platforms, especially right here at 7 o'clock, as we will have Tony Segreto going old school tomorrow, brought to you by Texas Roadhouse Restaurants. Until then, thanks for tuning in, everybody. We'll see you next time as we leave you know that.
The time.
It's 9:05.
Let's go to eat a damn snack.
Look what they done to my soul.